Hi, and welcome to today's webinar. We have a very special guest today, and I'm going to talk about him very shortly. But today's webinar is about cybersecurity, and is this no longer option or optional, or is it good for businesses? We're going to discuss all of these concerns and issues as we go through the seminar. And I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Nishanthi Nehru, and I am a lawyer, founder, and I have my own firm. I practice in various areas of law, including civil litigation, business law, and criminal law. And I have worked in court services for several years with various experiences. I have gained a lot of knowledge and have been assisting clients in various areas of civil litigation as well as criminal law and business law. So let's talk to Makafui Bokor. I'm not sure if I'm saying your name properly. Please let me
Perfect.
know. Okay. And he's going to explain a little bit about himself first. He's going to introduce himself, and then will start with the topic.
Hi, everyone. My name is Makafui. I am the author of Bridge, Closing the Cybersecurity Gap for Small Businesses. I'm also the founder of ADENTITI. It's a Canadian cybersecurity company here in Toronto. And I came up with this book because of my experiences with private individuals, small companies, and I found a pattern where they had an issue with security and it was happening over and over again. So I try to explain things to them using the book. And I had to make it very fun because if you read about cybersecurity, it's hard to understand. It's hard to even figure out everything. And upon all you know about what is phishing, what is malware, people are getting spammed, people are getting hacked. So I made it exciting using my experiences with African proverbs and my Canadian case studies that I've experienced. So these are real life cases, but it's not details. So we can work with that, and it's exciting. You when you read about the book, it feels like a storybook, but it's fun and you get it, and it shows a lot about repetitive things that you have to do to keep you safe. Thank you.
Well, let's talk about cybersecurity. Why is cybersecurity and why does cybersecurity matter to small businesses? How can we deal with these cybersecurity issues? Can we discuss this, McCoffey? Please tell me, why does it matter to small businesses?
Small businesses are now the new big thing. Like, small businesses are the backbone of Canada. Most of the businesses here in Canada are SMBs and individuals doing their own thing, managing a home, or and also they are the biggest employers of Canadian citizens and Canada in general, because if you count the number of people who go through small businesses to big corporations, there are a lot. And these are the mom and pop businesses around that we see where they employ one or two people, but then they keep growing and they help the economy be better. So, and they have a issue with cybersecurity where they keep losing data, they keep losing identity. So the targeting them is a big thing to do because with them, we can be employed a lot. We can also get opportunities to learn real life experiences too. Not that we can get it in the big company, but then the smaller companies, the small businesses are the backbone of Canada, and we have to protect them. It's like
But what happens with cybersecurity issues with small businesses? Can you kind of elaborate on the issues that why the small businesses get attacked?
because they're less funded, they
Mm-hmm.
don't have enough money, and they don't have enough working capital. So they might have some small reserves, like financial reserves, to hire a lot of these expertise to secure them,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have a lot of defenses with cybersecurity. So a lot of targeted businesses today are small businesses because they are the least expected.
Now that you've actually mentioned that, so let's go to the common cyber threats that that small businesses actually incur. Let's talk about what the common threats are and how these threats come about. Can you explain a little bit more about these threats for me?
I would start with ransomware, where a lot of companies are being held. Yeah, it's bad, but it's all about small issues like backing up of your data. If you're backing up these data, are the data on the in the cloud, or they are on a hard drive? And also, do you verify if the data is there? Even if the data is being copied, is it copied securely, or it's just being copied on the pen drive? So if you have your data backed up regularly and you encounter ransomware, you can easily get back to business, like recover quickly. And the most expensive thing that happened to small businesses are their reputation. Because if you get hacked, it's harder to get back into business, because financially you might survive, but your reputation might cost you a lot more. And lots of businesses are just starting up, building up with their reputation and everything. So if you lose that, it is the main call.
Hmm.
Another thing is the phishing emails, where you have new employees where they are not well trained, or they are trained but not regularly, and they end up clicking on stuff on company devices. You end up clicking something and locking up the whole system. So phishing emails is a very essential part of the training onboarding procedures, where you have to consider how you're going to onboard employees, train them to these stages. Also, malware, they come through attached documents that are not checked regularly. So a lot of these things are repetitive things that you have to be doing. So I tell employees and companies that cybersecurity is not the product that you buy. It is the practice. It is something you do repetitively. Also, the insider threats can be an employee who is not happy, is leaving and teaming up with someone outside to do something harm to the company. So you have to find innovative ways of uh, training and also inciting employees to be aware of the cybersecurity, and then keep training them.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for all of that information. Now let's try to understand. Let's go to the understanding of your vulnerabilities. How do we make sure that we can actually learn about our vulnerabilities and actually protect ourselves from those vulnerabilities? Because this is essential for all businesses, especially as a lawyer. I have these concerns as well. I'm pretty sure many people have these concerns because our documents and our clients are, we should have confidentiality. We want to protect these individuals' information. So what are the vulnerabilities that we should be protecting and how can we protect them?
This is an interesting question, because vulnerability starts with basic things like weak passwords, where a lot of employees are doing the 1 2 3 passwords,
Oh
and
wow.
sometimes they reverse and do the 8 9 10, things like that. And we have to find innovative ways of creating great password. I use the concept of the twinkle twinkle little stars, and we change the T to a plus, the A to an at sign, and then the I to the number one, and keep the spaces in between.
What about
So
the Google passwords?
The Google passwords, they are good
Mm,
because I've seen the other side of it where people were keeping their password in notebooks. And then they left their password in a purse and folded papers. And if you have a pet or a little one at home and you get hold of that, that you are in
lot
big danger. Yeah. So we have to also find innovative ways of storing the password, even if they are in a notebook. Are they in a safe, or they are in a locker, or in a bag where it's safe? We have to also look at how we back up our documents. Even if we back up, we can go and keep verifying if the document is there. So availability matters when
okay.
you're backing up, even if the data is being backed up, are you doing it in working environments or in an isolated area? If you can isolate these things so that your documents in transit will be safe. Also, the data that is stored are safe, either in a hard drive locked with the passwords. I know it's hard for seniors because for them they just want to get their things done.
And
So
it's more
yeah,
simplistic, right? They want a simplistic life, so they don't want to have complications to remember
they
all of
just
the
in
numbers.
and out.
Yeah, exactly. So that makes sense. We want to back up our information. We want to make sure our passwords are not too simple and not too complicated so we forget, but make sure we save them in a particular order so that we have those backed up in case we forget or there is an issue. So these are things that we need to do. And so let's talk about the core cybersecurity principles. What are these core cybersecurity principles that we should make sure that we're always looking at whenever we're dealing with our electronic documentation, information, and any emails and other online platforms that we use?
I would say cybersecurity is a repetitive task that you have to be doing. You managing small businesses or a home with a partner, you have to pull up the calendar and then schedule. If it's every 30 days or every 60 days, you have to change your passwords. You have to be updating your documents where you're backing up your document, verify if they are there. Also, you can also work on your form where you're creating innovative password, work on how long the password can be. It's helping because if you don't have a great passwords, you can be easily hacked because the way the system works, if they put a dictionary and search for your passwords and your password is a sentence, it's harder. But if it's two, three letters, it's easy and they can find it. So if we these things we have to be doing them regularly. So every 2 to 3 weeks, depending on you can't do it every day because it's harder. So
Mm,
baby steps, you can start with the 60 days, changing of your passwords, also role based where a new employee comes in, you have to reduce the number of administrative tasks that they can access so that they can build up their trust to where you want them to be. So it's baby steps, walking them because the remote working is causing a lot of issues where some people are working and they forgot to log out and
mm.
they are out doing something else or maybe chatting and the screen is wide open. Anybody can get access to company documents. And once you're logged in, you are all responsible for your data.
That makes sense because I do remember a friend of mine telling me that she had an employee who ended up working and they ended up taking the passwords and changing them, which the she no longer had the access, and this employee left the company. Now she could not retrieve the passwords. So you guys have to be careful when you're giving employees access. Make sure you're giving them access to things that you have the ability to control. As much as we want to trust everybody, there's not everybody we can trust, right? We have
It's true.
you have to learn to
Sometimes
still.
you can also reduce the number of minutes or hours where they can be logged in
Mhm.
when they are away. It can time out so they'll have to log in again. So also you can use that to check if the person is really working. No HR. Yeah.
Especially with for small businesses, right? We don't have that luxury of being able to hire so many staff members or being able to have other people manage the staff members. We have to manage everything. So this is where we have to know how to train ourselves to schedule things in to make sure we put these in our calendars and be able to set up these extra security measures. So let's talk about how we could afford cybersecurity tools that would allow us to be able to protect ourselves. So, can you tell me a little bit more about these cybersecurity measures that we can do?
So I believe in layers of securities. So if you have text message, phone call, or an email notification before you can log in, it's best, because if you are impersonated and someone is trying to log in, the person might try this and then they need your phone number. So, and also as we are on the phone call, if we can reduce the number of information that we give out, because you call someone and the first thing you hear is, oh, I am Joseph Doe. If you can't get me, email me on josephdoe at gmail. Everything is gone.
Hmm.
So if you can paste the information that I'm not by the phone now, if you can leave a message, that's simple. Instead of giving all your information out, the firewalls are great.
Hmm.
Antivirus is perfect. Cloud storage is amazing. But you have to strengthen your passwords, because when they get in there with, it doesn't matter if you store the data outside, it has to be encrypted.
Hmm.
So layers of security is best. Instead of using one tool, use two or three medium of storing your data and helping the company secure the data.
So, like two-factor authentications, where you use your phone as a second method, or you use your email account as a second method to make sure the passwords are going to that, or numbers are like they generate a certain number of numbers so that you can get it from that and put it into your system to go in. Is that what you're referring to? Because that's what I have on most of my systems, but
Yeah, it's that's it. If you
yeah.
can do that, and
Mhm.
also checking regularly who has right, who is not using their security measures, you can audit and then do a lot of things. Because if you don't check in, what if the antiviruses are not working? Some
Mhm.
employees or consultants can disable it.
Yeah.
So if you can uh, disable that button where they can click on disable, so that it can be running,
Mhm.
because sometimes they want to go to a certain website that is not allowed.
Mm.
Company policy is important. We have to emphasize on these things, that you cannot do this. If you send this, we'll send you an alert. That,
That makes sense. And like it depends on the software you're using too, right? Like I mean, what if you're using a Mac-based system compared to an Microsoft Office? So would that make a difference in the security levels, or would you want to have the same security levels on both?
it all the same tools that we use in and out, because if you have a Mac, you still have a cloud storage.
Hmm.
You still have a firewall, but maybe named differently. You
Okay.
still have the MFA, the multi-factor It's
Mm,
still the same. It's just an individual effort to activate it.
okay. That sounds perfect. Now let's talk about passwords and access management. This is we have already touched on this, but if we
I
can
like
go
this topic
I guess you do. Can you elaborate why you like this topic?
because a lot of people are making the excuses that they have a great notebook, they
Mhm.
have a great paper, they can store their passwords, and they have a system of generating the same passwords for every device everywhere. And
Okay.
sometimes when we buy these Internet of Things, the IoT devices, like you have your Roomba or any devices that you have at home, they come with a default password. So if you don't change them, when someone gets into your system at home, they can control those devices. Imagine you are not at home and some of these devices that you have at home have cameras and
Hmm.
they can see a lot of things you
Oh.
don't think they can see.
Oh.
It's amazing how we underestimate what these devices can do and the security that we have to take into consideration. Because if we work on the form of passwords, we can generate a lot of innovative passwords and use the password managers to store them so that we can protect our data, especially the banking information and other essential apps.
That sounds amazing, and that's a good thing to know because obviously a lot of us don't realize how much technology has influenced our home devices as much as our work devices, and we start using things and we leave the product thinking, oh, it's just our home device, we're not going to worry about it. But guess what? Someone can still hack it, right? Any kind of electronic device can be hacked as long as there's a way to hack it. So those are things that we all have to consider. And but how about work wise? How about training your team? How would we train our team to make sure to protect our security systems and our documents and any other applications that we use?
I experienced something with an intern where when she came in, I said, "You have to do this training." And then she said, "No, I came to do designs and why am I studying about cybersecurity?" And I said, "This is mandatory. This is company policy. You have to do this or no intern." So we have to find innovative ways onboarding a client, onboarding a new employee to let them train on cybersecurity so they can be aware from the day one. Also, I encourage leaders, managers to take initiative as they take the training. They come back and then tell them what they've learned and re-educate them. So it is very important you train your team, and it has to be regularly. If there is an issue that comes up, an attempt that almost happened or not, find innovative way of going back to making it a case and training all of them again. So find innovative ways, making it repetitive. You have to also report when you have a threat. So these are also innovative ways you have to find within your company policies or structure to make sure you train your employees regularly. Even when they are leaving, the exit strategy, you can
Mhm.
chip in there a line or two so they can get
So
trained.
Maccabi, I have a question for you in this perspective. Where would we, as a small business owners or entrepreneurs, where would we look for these type of security trainings, and how would we be able to get these courses to assist us with employee trainings? If you know of any, would you be able to give us some information?
I would say I do it, but other people do it. But you have to look at their return, how is it being done? Are they finding excuses not doing the training?
Mhm.
because you can have all this training and employees would not do it because they're seeing it as a chore.
Of course.
You can also gamify it and make it interesting and
Mhm.
also engage them to do it.
Mhm.
So these training are out there. Some companies have them for sale, some just do them for freelance. But it is essential that they have these training.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying you would be also one to they could reach out to you in case they want to be able to do the cybersecurity training just to make
Perfect. Yeah.
And do you do Zoom or training? Do you go over or do you actually attend in person? Is there anything that you can give us so that the audience, whoever's seeing, might want to like if they want to reach out, we'll like give them your information at the end of the webinar as well as like we could give it on our platform. But we just want to be able to make sure that
So
our audience has that information in case.
yeah, the solution that I have is for different markets. I
Okay.
have a board game like
Uh,
Monopoly for the seniors
oh, nice.
where they can play as they're playing, they're learning about cybersecurity and still having fun. And
Okay.
then for us, I have the book
Sounds good.
that
And
gives you everything and more. And
mhm.
then also I have the software that you can go through onboarding procedures. So you can customize it where you want the training to be done. And it's gamified experiences where it's awarded based on stages that you get to. So it's fun.
Okay, that
And
sounds perfect.
yeah, and then I'm looking at bringing it back to the really young ones, like
That you
below 14 so they can play it on video games.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting way to learn. Even I would be interested in that. What do you mean, you 14-year-old? My God, come on! It'll be so much fun to do like an entertainment, like gaming, just to learn how to deal with cybersecurity, which is
Yeah,
great.
that would be fun.
That would be fun. I am looking forward to
So
that one.
it's like alternative ways of using fun to
Mhm.
educate. So
Exactly.
yeah, the seniors can do their board game, the young ones can do the video games, and we are still learning.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of go into the create an incident report so that we can understand how these measures can help us make sure that we protect our business, especially with learning all of these aspects. We can actually make sure that we could make a incident report, incident response plan to make sure our business is protected. How do we do that?
I've heard people say in transit, oh, I got hacked. And this is not the medium to
Mhm.
communicate this. If you are a corporation or an individual and you're hacked, your reputation is at stake. So you have to use the proper channel to communicate these things. Either you design an incident report response plan, or you work with someone who is an expertise there, because the cybersecurity is big enough where there is the PR aspect where they report the incident. So it is so big that everybody can get in. It is not the ways that we report them around. We have to find a structure and also work with the company policies
Mhm.
that how does this information go? Does it go straight to the clients or it goes to the board first? And
Mhm.
then the layers of communication is important because if we don't do this well and we lose our reputation, it's more expensive than the hack itself.
But it's not only our reputation that'll go, right? Because let's just say we have also legal documents, private documents, confidential documents. We have a layer of information that we're not even sure of sometimes because we have
That's
contracts,
true.
right?
I know you know because you're into legal. In Canada, you have like 2 weeks to report when you get hacked.
Yeah. You
And
have to
then,
make sure because
yeah.
your clients' informations are not should not be out on the web for anybody to actually access, right? Especially if you have contracts and other measures that should be protected, you should have them as a secure documents. If they should be put in a folder with a security measure that cannot be hacked, or should have a password protection, so that these specific confidential documents are not leaked on the web, or on against can be used against your clients in any manner, shape, or form. So be careful about those things too, because those are legal measures that can be brought against you, and sue they can the individuals or clients can sue you for the fact that their information has been basically dumped on the web or been used as a blackmailing technique, which is things that you need to protect yourself against, right?
And this is essential for small businesses because when we get hacked, it's so hard to come up.
Yep.
So hard because you barely making money and then you lose everything.
Yep. And you have to make sure that you're the one who is essentially responsible for all of this. As the director, as the founder, I know that I have to protect my clients, so all of my client files go on a legal platform, and are kept there on a protected two factor authentication with multiple security levels, because if I get hacked, my clients documents that are personal
You
and
also
private.
have to find that information of the breaches, like whose information is exposed, who is,
Exactly.
so you need report from every department
Hmm.
before the information goes up. So it's pretty a lot of work. That topic we have to, I think we have to book another day and then
Hmm.
talk about incident report planning. It's
Yeah,
yeah, that would be
we'll
fun.
definitely have to talk about those even more in detail in another session. And we will do that. We'll definitely do that so that we can make sure that our audience, and as well as any individuals who are listening, have more in-depth knowledge about what to do to protect themselves. But now let's try to talk about data privacy and compliance. This is important. This is what I was talking about earlier, because we have to comply with PIPEDA, which is a private information of individuals that are meant to be kept, under private. As I indicated earlier, your client's confidentiality is important, and the privacy of their clients have to be secured. So these are things that we definitely must comply with. As a lawyer, you will know that any kind of privacy act that requires any personal information about any matter will require that you look into PIPEDA or do an application under PIPEDA to the organizations to be able to obtain these documents. So these are things that we all have to comply with, every small business, including myself, including even Makafui, who has a cybersecurity organization. But you have to remember, this is important, because if your system gets hacked and you're not following PIPEDA, if you're not protecting your secure documents with password protections and two factor authentications, or in a secure platform, or a cloud service that has multiple layers of security, obviously you're likely to be sued because of this information being leaked. So this is important. What do you have any further intake on this, the coffee?
Yeah, I do. When we go to the hospital and we are telling the doctor how our health information is, we give too much information. We
Hmm.
are telling them about personal daily activities, and if the hospital get hacked, your personal information goes with it.
Hmm.
So it's very essential that on our part we know how much information that we are giving out. Personal information is one of the most important part of this part of the world. You
Hmm.
have to find innovative ways of protecting yourself before you get into that category. If you are a small business, it can be hard. you don't know how to even go about this. You can use a third party where they can log into your system through Google, through Yahoo, so that you don't inherit the burden. So your information is handled by a third party.
Mhm.
So we have to find money or ways of investing in this. We also all have to keep exactly what we need, not too much, because sometimes getting all this information when we get hacked is hard to recover. Because
Mhm.
how do you explain to your client that you have their details taken away? So
Mhm.
if you can use third party applications where even for payments, credit card, they can step in and take the details for you. You don't have to receive credit card. And even if you take them, you can max certain areas. You can blank certain areas so that when employees from remote areas working where you can't see them, they still can't see, or even if they get hacked, the hackers don't have access to these data. So it's very important we take
Yes,
this.
remember about the credit cards and any kind of payment methods that you do take. These methods should never be left open. They
No,
always have to be secured in a secured location where it's protected and password protected. Like you gotta have multiple layers of,
layers.
and as well, if you are keeping any credit cards on record, you should definitely delete or make it black for the first I think it's a 7 12 digits,
Before, yeah.
and then leave the last four digits, but you don't leave the first couple of digits on there at all, no matter what you do.
And
And
also, I'd like to add this, like when we get employed in a small company or we start doing our, we can avoid keeping our personal data on the company devices. If we
mhm,
can isolate them, it's very important because the company might not be responsible for your data.
yeah.
So we have,
Also, make sure you have one person or only a few people who are there to deal with money. If you're dealing with money or any kind of financial situation where you're taking payments, try to make limit the amount of individuals who are using your financial means to pay
yeah,
make payments, because then you actually have that those individuals will be responsible for protecting those amounts and those documents, right?
yeah, sure.
So let's talk about secure remote work setups. This is important because a lot of people now work from home, and we really need to make sure that when you're working from home, not everybody else is having access to your information. So, how can we protect ourselves if I'm working from home and I hire another staff member who's working from home? How do I protect my documents and my clients' information, and my make sure that my staff does not distribute it or accidentally have security measures that might not be sorry, not security measures, if my staff accidentally has a issue and it gets hacked, how do I protect it?
First of all, when you are onboarding a client or an employee, it should be the first thing you do. So the layers of security should be in place. And if you access a public Wi-Fi where it's not registered, like you're working from home, the IP address or the environment can be registered. And so when you connect to maybe Tim Hortons Wi-Fi, you get limited services.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use the VPN as a tunnel
Mm-hmm.
to pipeline every document that is secured. Also, passwords that are on documents help because you never know who you're connecting to when you're the Wi-Fi outside in Tim Hortons with the name Tim Hortons, but the T is a plus. You don't know, and you're connected, and you don't know how long. Even if you are home, you're still connecting to the same Wi-Fi.
Mm.
So you never know. You cannot control everything, but you can control the number or the data that they can use to access.
That's amazing. The other options I have noticed is I use a hotspot for my phone, which allows me to use my phone anywhere with a hotspot and the
Yeah,
internet.
if that area, that connection can be registered in your security environment,
Mhm.
it's best so that when you connect through a public Wi-Fi, you know you're limited.
Yeah. Exactly, which is like perfect because for me, I use my hotspot wherever I go. But if I am desperate to use a different hotspot, I have to make sure to look at what networks are out there first and if they're secured or if they're related. Like, let's say I go to a library and I want to use a library hotspot, make sure to speak to the library attendant to
Yeah,
make sure to
because
get that
they are
fast.
also getting hacked.
Yep.
So if you go and you expose your data, you are putting your company at risk.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we think this doesn't affect me because it's someone else. But if you are hacked and I'm working with you, I will be exposed. So we have to protect each other in very innovative ways.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. That's actually very important because we all go outside and we all work in different locations because we don't want to stay home, obviously. But we have to make sure wherever we go, our computer, our internet is secured. If you feel that you want to protect yourself more, buy a separate internet. What do they call them?
Dongle,
Yes,
a
those dongles.
Wi-Fi modem.
Exactly. So buy one of those if you want to really protect your information so that your information doesn't get hacked and nobody has access to it and you can password protect it. So those are important key factors to consider when you're dealing with security when you're outside of the home. What else can we let's talk about when to get help. How should we know when to get help?
I think the habits will solve this because if we do it repetitively, we will initially start paying for it and then learn and start paying less for it. Because if you don't reach out for help, that is really bad.
Mhm.
So from the beginning, we can start reaching out for support. That how do we safeguard or protect your data? You also have to ensure your company, your
Mhm.
legal reporting is important. The way you do it, the way you audit your company, are you getting the data done? Is it backed up? Is it even available when you back up? So it's the repetitive tasks that you do that makes this fun, that
Yeah.
makes it safe.
You're correct because sometimes I think my Google Drive is constantly uploading all the documents, and I go and look in. I'm like, "Where's my documents? I can't find it." And then I realize it hasn't really updated anything, and I have to really just keep installing and uploading these documents on my own and continue doing that. So make sure that you are backing up all of your data because
And
sometimes,
checking that the data is available.
yes, exactly. That happens a lot, like you think it's
Because
on the way.
people back up and delete the file.
Will it? It'll delete the file afterwards?
Yeah, and then it's all gone.
Oh, I didn't know that. See, there's another thing to actually know that Google deletes your data if you
No,
if
not
after.
Google, but like individuals.
Oh, individuals, they
Yeah, they
actually
back up
delete.
and then delete the data. They said, okay.
Oh,
And then
that.
you lose both.
Well, this is why I have redundant systems. I have two different cloud networks that actually update on its own, which is great. But sometimes it's like a lot of work, right? You have to do that, but you still have to do it because
That's
otherwise,
the responsibilities because now we are inheriting the things that were available for big companies. The
yeah.
servers. Now we have amazing Apple phones that can do exactly what those servers could do in few seconds.
Yep,
So we are responsible for a lot of securing it.
exactly. Or else, you know what? then you can't complain about being hacked because you didn't make all the extra measures to make sure you're protected. But this kind of brings us to the recap. So, what are cyber essentials? Let's recap. Keep systems updated, limit the access that people have, make sure you back up your data. Sorry, if you can tell me,
I
can
can take it from here. Basically, cybersecurity is not the product, it is the practice. It's stuff that you do repetitively. So if you're backing up your data, if you're updating your files, your softwares, you have to do them repetitively. Bring up the calendar, pull up 30 days. You have to train your employees and they have to do it. It has to be mandatory. You have to also base your task on role basis, what role you play based on the permissions or the privileges that you have. You can also plan for incidents where you have a scenario where you can internally you test how secured you are. So you can pick someone random, like, can you get into my office without an invite, to test how you can get breached, because physical uh, access can be dangerous.
yeah, you're,
Yeah,
that's really important because we have to make sure we're protected, right? No matter what kind of business we are in, especially as small businesses, we're
yeah,
not
it's
really
repetitive. Things that you
yeah,
have to do always. It's not one time you got antivirus, so you don't change up your passwords and you keep the same passwords for everything. Why do you need to a password manager if you have the same passwords for all your devices? It doesn't make sense.
exactly.
It's just a
So
copy and paste, right?
yeah, and then anybody else could copy and paste and take
Paste and then they go.
everything. There goes everything, right? So we're coming to the end of our webinar, but I would like Makafui to talk a little bit about his book because I'm pretty sure his book is going to be an essential part of how we protect ourselves, and he's going to explain why.
I love this book, and I wrote this book because I think we can all relate with it. It's not military written, it's storytelling, finding ways you can stay secured. And it's a blend of Canadian case studies that I have witnessed and stories I've heard. These are true events. So if we can look at what we have in here, we also added African proverbs to make it exciting. So you can also learn about different cultures, and you can be in bed reading this book. You can get it on Amazon. You can also, I like physical books where I can dog ear the pages. I love books. And I feel if we can get informed by reading this book, we can help someone. I can help you. You can help your family, you can help your aunties by telling them or informing them on a cyber security tip that can help them save money so that they can be happier. So the main purpose of this book is to help you, individuals and small businesses, to stay secured.
Thank you so much, McCoffee. It was such a pleasure having you here. And I think our audience would are like probably happy and excited to know about all this information because businesses, as a business owner and as a lawyer who assists businesses, I understand the concerns that people have when it comes to working with their internet access, their applications, and the security threats that have been happening all over the world, including a major organizations that have been hacked. We have to protect ourselves as small business owners because even though we're not big, our information is probably way more important to us than it is, to other individuals. And as well as we have legal repercussions when it comes to cybersecurity issues. So these are all things that are important for us. And I thank the audience for actually attending and being here and talking and listening to us have this conversation. Um, Anything else you would like to say, McCoffee, before we head out?
I I also want to add that I have never met anyone who did anything alone. You need amazing people, and I could not have done all this without my people, the amazing people I have, the you, my team, and the people out there. So I want to say thank you to you all.
Thank you. And thank you to you as well for attending. I know that I couldn't have done anything, all the things I've done without all the people and support that I've had. So I get it. It's important to appreciate those individuals out there who have helped you out and who's been there all throughout the whole process. So, with that note, we would like to say bye, and we look forward to seeing you guys again in 2 weeks, where I will be presenting on another subject of business law, and we can go from there. And you'll see our webinar posts, so you can see the topics. Hopefully, you'll attend within the next 2 weeks. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye.